All right, we are at 38 weeks now. Welcome back. Welcome back. We have made it to 38 weeks and 4 days. It feels like it's been a little bit of a emotional roller coaster since I picked up the camera last. I've still been feeling pretty good for the most part, but where do I even start? So I think I maybe already knew, or I found out the day of my last recording, which would have been a week ago today. So I'm recording this on Thursday, November 4th. And so last week, I think I would have already known that I had tested GBS positive. So, not a huge deal, but just another, to me, just another layer of extras right now. So it just means that whenever I go to the hospital, they're going to have to put in preferably 2 rounds of IV antibiotics into my system, spaced about 4 hours apart. And yeah, the one thing that really bothers me about the test, it's not that I'm like, yeah, I would prefer to not get antibiotics pumped into my system or my baby's system, but I do also not want my baby to get sick. So that's not necessarily the part that I have a huge problem with. What I don't like is that they do this test so early on. Like, I think I took it during 36 weeks already. And they do that just in case of preterm labor, or early term labor, so that they can be prepared. But the thing is, I'm halfway through my 38th week. I still haven't gone into labor, and there's a chance that that test could be inaccurate by this point, because it literally can change from week to week. And so I didn't say anything at my last doctor's appointment, but I'm thinking this next one, if I make it until then, I'm going to ask her if it's a possibility to retest, just so that we can be absolutely sure that it is actually necessary to pump those antibiotics into my system. So that was, whatever, just a teensy bit of a frustration to me. And then Friday afternoon, I got the call from the birth center just going over all the current COVID rules. And we knew that some of these things were going to be a possibility, but I wasn't really prepared, I guess, mentally for them to actually be a possibility. And so we found out that I am going to have to wear a mask for at least as long as I can during labor, which in my case is going to be about 20 minutes, because that's as long as I can last at the doctor's office before I start getting a headache and feeling sick. So I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when I'm in pain. And they have to do a rapid COVID test as soon as they determine that I will in fact need to be admitted, or I'm ready to be admitted. And then from there, depending on what that test result shows, if it's positive, Jeremiah is not going to be allowed to leave the room at all. Like, they literally want to minimize opening and closing the door. And if it's negative, then he'll have the freedom to come and go if he wants, during our entire stay there. So there's that, and then he's going to have to wear a mask the whole time, at least according to their rules. And that was probably the most discouraging thing to me, for a couple different reasons. For one, I would really like to be able to see my husband's face while I'm in labor. And for two, I also don't want him to start feeling sick or nauseous or what have you. Yeah, so that was just one more added frustration to the fact that I was, I think, already like starting to dread this labor and delivery process a little bit. And so by Saturday Friday night, I was literally tired because of the stress of the dread. that I was feeling, and just not coping with it well. And Jeremiah could see that, and so Saturday especially, he was just really trying to talk me through it and remind me that it's just going to be a short period of time, and what we're really looking forward to, both of us, is just being able to bring our baby home safely. And so we just have to do whatever it's going to take to get there. And so that helped. He even said something about me maybe just needing to get it over with already, like just kind of adopting that mentality of, you know, it's going to happen, it's going to come, it's going to go, and we will get through this. So that was helpful. And I was able to enjoy our Saturday together. We went out to a pumpkin patch, went for a wagon ride, and yeah, had a relatively good day. But I had started to notice on Saturday already that I was, well, maybe even Friday, it was gradually retaining more and more fluid. And by Sunday morning, I was feeling miserable because of how much fluid I was retaining and the fact that I hadn't really gotten out the entire week before and was just honestly having a bit of a pity party. By Sunday morning, I tried laying back down after I had gotten up and tried to get a little bit more sleep in before we left for church. It didn't really help. I didn't sleep, for one, and yeah, my fingers were sore, my face was puffy, my knees and feet were sore, and I just felt very full. So we went to church, stayed for the potluck, and then it didn't take long, and I was just like, can we please go home? I'm ready. Just ready to go home. So we ended up stopping we needed to stop at a store on our way home for Jeremiah to pick something up, and we walked around for a bit, and I started feeling a little bit better just from walking. And so when we got home, I just kept drinking more water, and we went for a walk, and then I had a nap, and I think somewhere in there my body was finally able to start draining some of that excess fluid, and I just felt so much better by late Sunday afternoon. And then Monday rolled around. I'm trying to think. Oh, Monday night. Okay. Monday night, I was sleeping really well, and then all of a sudden around, Jeremiah said when he looked at the time, it was around 1 o'clock. Or shortly after 1 o'clock, that I all of a sudden just sat up in bed. I don't know what I was dreaming about, but I woke up and could just feel stuff coming up my throat, and so I sat up super quickly, tried to swallowed it back down, and had to cough a bit because it burned so bad. So I don't know whether you would call that a really bad case of heartburn or whether I was actually vomiting into the back of my throat. But that was a very unpleasant experience and scared me a little bit. I was just very glad that I was able to sit up in time and not choke. And so it took me a bit to calm down. Around 2 o'clock, I finally just went and took a bath and tried to wind down a little bit more. But then after that, unfortunately, I was just awake. So I had calmed down from the whatever had just happened and needed to now my mind was just awake. And so I tried for, I think, another hour or so, maybe 2 hours, to go back to sleep. Eventually just ended up getting up and eating because I was starting to get super hungry after being awake for so long. And I think around 5 o'clock, so after Jeremiah got up to go to work, I finally was able to fall back asleep until about between 7:30 and 8, I think. So that was a bit of a rough night. And then during the day, especially towards afternoon, I just noticed that baby was being very quiet again and not feeling a lot of movement. I tried laying down a few times to do kick counts, and once I kind of got to about 6 in 15-20 minutes, then I was feeling okay about the movement, because that wasn't abnormal, or that isn't abnormal. And so I just figured, okay, I think baby's just going through another just sleepy growth spurt day, and just left it. But over supper time, I'm just like, this is still feeling really quiet. And then I waited just a little bit longer, and around, I think, 8 o'clock, started to feel quite a bit more movement again. I was like, okay, I think everything's okay. And then the next day, of course, he has to make up for all the time that was lost the day before, and is like coming back, kicking me super, super hard all day, to the point that yesterday morning, Wednesday morning, my belly was straight up sore just from all the kicks. And so that was fun. And sure enough, when I went to my doctor's appointment on Tuesday, the heartbeat was showing really good, in between 120, 130 range, which has been pretty typical for the last several weeks already for me. And yeah, she didn't have any concerns about that. Monday night, I was also really wondering about how much baby had dropped, because I was feeling a lot fuller in my pelvis. And I was just like, we might be having a baby this weekend. That was just my guess. But then the next morning, he had popped back up, and so I wasn't super hopeful. After that, I'm like, we might be waiting a couple more weeks. And now I'm still not sure. I got things loosened up in my pelvis and in my legs on Tuesday at my physio appointment, and so I've been trying to go for walks, and I ordered an exercise ball to try to maintain some of that looseness over the next little while, and we shall see. Braxton Hicks are continuing to come and go, and so I don't know. My husband is getting so incredibly impatient. He's very, very excited. I wish I should try capturing on camera at some point. He is just very, very excited, which I'm thankful for. I'm getting daily phone calls around lunchtime asking how I'm doing. And it's helping me. It's helping me with my own mental state with regards to all of this. Yeah, I don't know. My mother-in-law was asking me yesterday if I was getting nervous, and I'm like, it honestly depends on the day that you talk to me. Some days I feel very ready to go through this labor and delivery process, and other days I just don't. And then same thing with the overwhelming thought of bringing home a baby. Some days I feel super ready for it, and other days I just don't. I'm just trying to take it one day at a time. And still trying to rest, still trying to go for walks. I don't have a ton of ambition these days. I know people have asked me about, like, if I'm in the nesting stage and stuff, and I look at my windows and I'm like, yeah, those should probably get cleaned at some point before it snows. But am I gonna do it? Probably not. I should also be baking bread and stuff, but I'm like, that's a long process. If all of a sudden I do go into labor while I'm in the middle of having all of that going, I wouldn't know what to do with it over the next couple of days. I could possibly just stick it in the fridge because it's sourdough, but I don't know. So I'm mainly just trying to just stay on top of things like keeping the dishes done. I need to make our bed, which is something I typically do pretty much every day anyway. Things like just keeping the floor swept, the bathroom wiped down, things put away as much as possible. turned into a really, really messy person. Or not turned into, I am a really messy person. Just leaving stuff laying around and leaving things behind, getting distracted, moving from one thing to another before I'm done with whatever I was working on. Anyway, so I'm trying to be a little bit better about some of those things, and just so that if we do all of a sudden have to leave the house in a hurry for any reason, then we can come home to a semi-clean apartment. Other than that, we continue to wait, and we continue to wait and see, in particular, what's going to happen with the labor and delivery, and how my body is going to respond during and after. Is kind of something that's really been on my mind and in my prayers, and I know that I have a lot of other people praying for that, just praying that this will be a peaceful process. More than anything, honestly, it's just my biggest prayer right now is that it will be a peaceful process, whatever that looks like. So, yeah, we will just leave it at that, and maybe I'll see you in another update after this one. Maybe I won't. Maybe it'll be a birth announcement. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll stop rambling, and I will catch you in the next video.